Hello, you guys. This is a quick review on standard 8.5.1 for my eighth graders. All right, this standard deals with how natural phenomenons impact Louisiana. Whoops, 8.5.1. I'm trying to keep it under 3 minutes, so stay with me. Here we go. So, source one is some sources we've looked at before, wetland sources. We're going to look at some of the causes of coastal erosion. Once again, erosion is, I'm going to just touch on that really quick. Erosion is All right, we're going to get us a clear definition. Remember, you can click it and hit define within your screen. It is the process of eroding or being eroded by wind, water, or other natural agents. The problem of erosion. All right, so we'll put that over here for you in case we need to go back to it. All right, but you can look up anything in your Google Doc without ever leaving. All right, so let's go. Where we at time wise? We're right at a minute. Let's roll. Minute to win it. So one of the major causes right here, the first one, it talks about how the delta has been constricted by levees. All right. By it being constricted by levees, it actually restricts the sediment that pours out of that delta into the Gulf to continuously build up those coastal wetlands. So much so that the levees have constricted to the point to where it says experience erosion degradation due to compaction of loose sediment, rise in relative sea level, and catastrophic storms. So all those things play an element in um, the I guess you say erosion of our wetlands. Source two. All right, source two, those levees. All right, and this is actually a barrier island. Just to point that out as well, barrier islands, they fronting the Mississippi River Delta act as a buffer. So they block a lot and take on a lot of that storm surge and those early winds to help slow down some of those hurricanes, which is another cause of coastal erosion. But we're losing this land due to the fact that the Mississippi River is being constricted by those levees and not able to spew out that sediment in the wetlands as it normally has done over 7,000 years to help build up the land. All right. One of the next causes of erosion is human activities during the past century. All right. Human activity. Look at that picture right there. It is an a picture, I'm sorry, of some of the coastal wetlands with all these different canals dredged through them by oil companies. It creates something called saltwater intrusion, which is our next thing. All right. So levees that channeled, and I have some highlighted green things, so we'll focus on those. Levees that channeled the river for nearly 2,000 kilometers. Sediment carried by the river is now discharged far from the coast, thereby depriving wetlands of vital sediment. All right. So just watching my time. We're at 3 minutes. We're going to try to keep it under 5. So, in long story short, the wetlands are not able to get the sediment that it needs, which is the dirt and soil built up from its long travel. Um, Next thing, saltwater intrusion is caused by some of the dredging and canals built throughout the wetlands by those oil companies. When they dig up the land in the wetlands, a lot of that salt water from the Gulf is able to flow inland and out through those canals. And that salt water is horrible. It is deadly to the plant life within the wetlands. This is a quick picture right here of plant life within the wetlands. It's very important because these plants actually hold the soil in place. All right, that soil below the roots hold it in place. But if you lose the plant life here, all right, and we lose it, it dies off, and there's no roots to hold the soil in place. So when we get those storm surges and those rising sea levels, the land just erodes away. All right, so we need the plants to be there. So saltwater intrusion is a big component of that. That speeds up the erosion process. Next cause, we have rising sea levels. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. The sea levels have risen in record numbers in the last century. It's of dire importance, and a lot of people attribute that to the polar ice caps melting. But that is a natural process within itself. But it is still a major cause of coastal erosion. Next thing I want to look at quickly in source 6 is hurricanes, right? Hurricanes a lot of times get overlooked. People just think about themselves when it comes to hurricanes down in Louisiana, but it is directly impacting our wetlands. All right, the barrier islands are not there in large numbers as they once were to help take on a lot of that initial impact and to slow down the hurricanes. So we're getting more water. The storm surges are coming more inland to some of our metropolitan areas. And we can think back to Hurricane Katrina, how it was so costly and deadly to the city of New Orleans because those barrier islands were not there in large numbers around that area, as they once were, to take on that hurricane and to slow it down. So it came in full force, far inland. So let's go through our causes real quick. Recap causes of erosion or coastal erosion. Let's be more specific. All right, so let's go through it. First cause we got. Let's just go with saltwater intrusion. All right. Another major cause we have is human activity. We got these oil companies digging these canals, allowing the salt water to come in, right? The next thing we have is levees. 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 Another cause. And we have storms. And lastly, we have loss of barrier islands. Am I forgetting something? Yes, I am. Actually, there's a sixth one, you guys. There is a sixth cause of coastal erosion. I'm going to talk about that really quick right now, and that is invasive species. All right. Invasive species like this. Let me give you a picture of it. This actually is a problem in our wetlands. This species is really eating up a lot of the roots of some of the plant life that we need to hold the soil in place. Let me get a picture of that bad boy. Stay with me. It is called a Nutria Rat, right? I'm going to insert a picture of him. Here we go, right here. Let me get a good picture. You probably can see it from there. But let's get him like this one. All right. So a Nutria Rat, hopefully that didn't scare any of you. It actually was brought here from South America during the early exploration period, and not early exploration, I'm sorry, but early 18th century, 19th century. They were kind of brought in heavily along, on ships. They got off and things of that nature, and they just overpopulated our wetlands. They thrive in the wetlands. But they eat up all the vegetation that's needed in order to hold the soil in place. So we have a lot of causes here, you guys, things that we need to know for our upcoming quiz this week. So just go through them, review them, be prepared for next week, and I know you'll knock the test out of the park. All right, here we go.